Alright, we're going to continue looking at solving quadratics using the quadratic formula. Remember, in order to solve a quadratic, you need to make sure that the equation is equal to 0, and we also need to make sure that the quadratic is in standard form, which is the case for both of these. So the first thing we're going to do is identify the a, the b, and the c. A, that's our leading coefficient, 1. B, that's the number in front of the x, negative 14. And c is our constant, the 58. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those three numbers and plug them into the formula. So we got x equals negative b plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2 times a. So all I've done is taken out the letters, variables, and replaced them with the appropriate numbers. Now I'm going to go ahead and simplify. I got a negative and a negative 14. Negative times a negative makes this a positive 14, plus and minus the square root of something. If I go to my calculator and enter negative 14 squared minus 4 times 1 times 58, I end up with a negative 36. And my denominator, I have 2 times 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and try and take the square roots of the negative 36. Now keep in mind we're taking the square root of a negative number, therefore it's going to be an imaginary. So the square root of 36, negative 36 is 6i. Still got the denominator 2. Now I'm almost there. The next thing I'm going to do is try and reduce or simplify this. What we're going to do is take that 14 plus or minus 6i and divide it by 2. So 14 divided by 2 would be 7. And 6i divided by 2 would be a 3i. Now so that we can see the two solutions, one of those solutions would be x equals 7 plus 3i. And we have another solution that is 7 minus 3i. These are the two solutions to this quadratic. Notice how the two solutions are imaginary. Alright, example number 2, we have the quadratic 10x squared plus 2x plus 5 is equal to 0. Since I've got it equal to 0 and it is in standard form, I'm going to start by identifying the a, the b, and the c. A is 10. B is 2, and C is 5. So these are the three numbers that we'll be plugging into the formula. So we're going to start out by doing that. Plug in the numbers in the formula. We got x equals negative b plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. All of this gets divided by 2 times a, and a is a 10. So all I've done is plugged in the values. Let's go to the next step. We got a negative 2 to start off with, plus and minus the square root of something. Again, if I were to go to my calculator and enter 2 squared minus 4 times 10 times 5, I end up with a negative 196. Down at the bottom we have 2 times 10. 2 times 10 is 20. Next thing I'm going to do is take the square root of a negative 196. Now anytime we take the square root of a negative, we end up with an imaginary. So the square root of 196 is 14. But because I'm taking the square root of a negative 196, this would be a 14i. It's imaginary. Down at the bottom we still have our 20. Next thing I'm going to do is try and reduce this. First thing I notice is these three numbers, the 2, the 14, and the 20. All three of those numbers are divisible by 2. So I'm going to divide each one of those by 2. So negative 2 divided by 2 would be a negative 1. 14i divided by 2 would be a 7i. And 20 divided by 2 would be a 10. So that we can see both of our solutions here. One of those solutions would be x equals negative 1 plus 7i over 10. And our other solution would be negative 1 minus 7i over 10. So these are my two solutions to this quadratic. Again, notice how the solutions are imaginary, and that's because we're taking the square root of a negative value. Alright, last example we're going to look at, x squared minus 10x plus 26 equals 0. Go ahead and start by identifying a, b, and c. A is 1, b is negative 10, and c is 26. So these are the three numbers I'm going to be plugging in to the formula. So we start with negative b. b is a negative 10. Plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4 a c, all divided by 2 times a. Alright, so let's see what we get here. A negative times a negative makes this a positive 10. Plus and minus the square root of something. If I go to my calculator and enter a negative 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times 26, I should end up with a negative 4. In my denominator, 2 times 1 is 2. The next thing I'm going to do is take the square root of that negative 4. And again, since we're taking the square root of a negative, we do end up with an imaginary. So a negative 4. The square root of a negative 4 would be a 2i. Of course, our denominator is still a 2. Now I'm going to come over here and simplify or reduce this. Notice that we're going to take that 10 plus and minus 2i, and we're going to divide that by 2. So 10 divided by 2 would be a 5. 2i divided by 2 would be a 1i. So again, just so you can see both of our solutions, one of those solutions is x equals 5 plus I, and the other solution is 5 minus I. These are the two solutions to this quadratic. Remember, we call these conjugates, complex conjugates.